Most people think that their opinion and their own personal taste about their own music is the best way to improve it. However, this can actually stunt the quality of what you're creating. But I get it, it's a super common approach, and it's very common to hear trust your ear, or people say that I just want to create what I'm hearing in my head into my music. Everyone just says that they'll judge their music at any given point throughout the process of working on it to ensure the result that they want and maintain quality control. Seems pretty logical, right? So why is this completely wrong? The problem with this is that it assumes that your opinion about your music is always correct. And if you're feeling some resistance towards that, let me ask you this. When has your opinion for any piece of music ever changed? The classic, oh dude, this is straight fire in the moment, and then the classic, what was I thinking? On the next listen. Let me ask you, how many hit songs share the story of the artists themselves not loving the song and they released it anyway? Slash with Sweet Child of Mine, he famously stated that he hated that song for years and then grew to love it over time because the audience loved it so much. Ed Sheeran with The Shape of You, he actually felt like this song wasn't him, and it took about 2 months for the other co-writers of that song to convince him to put it on the album Divide, and another month of convincing to persuade him to release it as a single. Pete Townsend with Pinball Wizard called the song awful and the most clumsy piece of music he's ever written. Even John Lennon says he doesn't like the sound of his own voice. Could you imagine if he believed his own opinion and never released anything? So how do you continue to move forward and make quality music if you can't trust your own opinion? You focus on the process. Number 1 is maintaining objectivity. And this is so damn important when you're producing music. A super easy way to demonstrate this is to take your favorite song and listen to it 5 times in a row, 10 times in a row, 50 times in a row, 100 times in a row, and before too long, you will end up hating the sound of that song. But did the music change? No, nothing in the music changed, just your opinion and your perspective, and you've lost objectivity because you've listened to the song so many times. What's crazy, absolutely insane, is that we do this with our own music to ourselves. All right, if we listen to a loop 50 to 100 times, if we listen to the same piece of music over and over and over and over and over and over and over, we're gonna lose that precious objectivity, and we're gonna lose the perspective that we need to make the decisions that are gonna best suit the song, because we've totally destroyed our ability to make good decisions with our bias, right? Our thoughts, opinions, and moods change and waver day by day. You might like something one day and then not be in the mood for it another day. Or there might be music that you didn't like at first and then you grew to love over time. Or there might be music that you were super into when you were growing up and now you kind of cringe when you listen to it. So all that to say is that you need a process that doesn't assume that your opinion is correct at any given point in time, because it changes. And how can you rely on something that constantly changes? So if you're interested in learning more about a process that will help you maintain that objectivity with this really cool cycling technique, I've created a super easy to follow 7-step framework that goes through exactly just that. And if you're interested in grabbing that, you can find it in the description below. So something that'll help you maintain objectivity is taking breaks between listening sessions and being aware of how much you're listening to a song or any given part of a song over and over. And I like to use this process called cycling. So I will never be working on one single piece of music at any given point in time. I'll usually be cycling through 4 or 5 different musical projects at different phases of the process, because this helps me maintain that objectivity. It helps me avoid over listening and over analyzing stuff. And it keeps me engaged by cycling through different phases of the process. So maybe I'll be doing some idea generation, then I'll be working on an arrangement, then I'll be editing something, then maybe working on a mix, and then going back to developing those ideas further. Number 2 is to release your judgments. All right, just take a step back, relax, take a deep breath in, and let go of the judgments. Let go of your expectations and allow yourself to just be present and enjoy the process, all right? You don't have to hyper focus on the result all the time, because the results happen through the process over time, all right? And just have faith in your process that if you are consistent and you're having fun and you're pushing yourself, you're challenging yourself, watch as the results naturally happen. But the flip side isn't true. If we hyper focus on the results, on getting the sound in our heads, in judging our work and having all these expectations and comparing ourselves to others, that's actually going to hinder our progress. It's actually going to make us feel doubtful and stressed and have this unnecessary pressure, which ironically doesn't help you finish more music. All right, so do not judge your work too early. I see so many people fall into this trap of, as they're creating ideas, they're simultaneously judging them, whether they're good or bad. And again, your opinion isn't really correct at any given point in time. So you can't trust your opinion. And in the whole process of music production, there are different forms of thinking and different frames of mind that we want to approach those phases with. So for example, when you're in the process of idea generation, you're getting creative, you're getting into flow state, you're experimenting, you're trying new things, that is a form of divergent thinking, okay? You're thinking and you're creating ideas, you're opening up to possibilities, you're seeing what can happen, and you're having fun, you're exploring. There are other parts of the music production process that are very focused on convergent thinking, which is more like editing and process and taking ideas and cutting out the fat, trimming out what's not good, and taking the gems and editing them and refining them into a better form. And these two different types of thinking don't really work well together at the same time. All right, you're much better off to focus on one specific type of thinking, one process, one phase at a time, because it will allow you to explore it more fully. All right, so when you're coming up with ideas and you're exploring and you're experimenting and you're finding new sounds, don't worry about editing. Don't worry about if it sounds great or not, or what your opinion is telling you, or how you feel. Just have fun exploring and just focus on that, the divergent thinking, and you're exploring, you're having fun. And then at a later phase, maybe cycle through another few projects, come back to this project, then think about editing, then decide, what fits the song, what doesn't, what needs to be fixed, what doesn't, and use that convergent thinking in a separate phase. And this will help you avoid the mistake of stifling your process as you're creating things, okay? You really want to give yourself the space to explore all of these different types of thinking and all the different phases of the creative process to the fullest that you can. You also don't want to give up on something just because you don't like it. All right, a lot of people say that they can't finish music because they're never satisfied with the music they make, so it's not worth finishing. And that's funny because finishing more music is what's going to get them to the music they want to produce a lot quicker than never finishing anything. All right, and keep in mind, you don't have to release everything you finish. However, you should finish things even if you don't like it. And although you won't have an end result that you might be satisfied with or keen on sharing, you're still going to get massive benefits and learn a ton by focusing on finishing tracks, even if you don't like them. All right, and finally, I invite you to focus on the process, okay, and not the results. All right, don't hyper focus on the results of your session. Hyper focus on the session and how you're showing up, right? It's so easy to get locked into, oh, my track doesn't sound good. Oh, it's not as good as this artist. Oh, I don't know, my mix doesn't sound great. I don't know about this song. And you're hyper focusing on the result versus the process of, what can I learn from this? What can I try to improve with this? How can I play a game with myself with this phase? How can I approach this differently? When we're focused on the process, we're so much more rooted in the moment. And when you're in that moment, you're not going to be stressed out. You're going to be more encouraged and invigorated and empowered to try things and be active and have fun versus hyper focusing on the result and stressing yourself out, beating yourself up about these expectations on a result that you have. And I can assure you, if you double down and just focus on being consistent with a practice and having fun and developing your own unique workflow and system and playing games with yourself, watch as the results naturally happen. Number 3 is the impossibility of perfect. All right, so I hear this a lot from people that they're trying to find the right sound, that they're trying to create the sound in their head, that they're trying to get the mix perfect. And this is horrible. There's an amazing quote that says, done is better than perfect because perfect will never be done. Also, if we take a step back and think about it, if our opinion about things constantly shifts and changes, how will anything ever be right or perfect if our opinion constantly changes? Art is never finished. It is only abandoned. You might never feel like something is completely done or finished or satisfied with it before calling it done. All right, don't let perfection be the enemy of good enough. All right, we have to let go of these illusions and delusions of perfection because they don't exist. And I'm not saying that we don't try our best and we try to perfect our work and the active principle of perfecting things. However, the idea of perfection is really an illusion. And if we latch on to perfection and we're holding on and we're never moving forward until we achieve perfection, we're not allowing ourselves to create the space for the next thing. Okay, because when you finish something, you're creating space now. You're giving yourself the opportunity to move on and to work on something else, the next thing. And the more you can do that, the better and better you're going to get exponentially, versus holding on and trying to perfect one thing forever. You're never going to be able to let go and grow. And as you do this more over time, you're going to start to learn that you're going to want to try to listen to what the music is telling you it wants. Because all the answers that you're looking for a particular problem with a particular piece of music that you're working on, most likely the answer lies within the piece of music itself. The music will tell you where it wants to go, what it needs, right? The parts will tell you how they want to be developed. And the more you train your artistic ear and develop your tastes, the easier and easier this will be, right? And contrast this versus obsessing over what you want a track to be, okay? And this all comes from expectations. If you have expectations on, I want the song to be like this artist, I want it to be this quality, it has to fit X, Y, and Z, that can be useful from time to time, but holding on to those expectations can actually cripple you and blind you from seeing what the music actually needs to move forward. So let me ask you, do you want to keep on getting thrown around by the ebb and flow of your changing opinions and your quality judgments? Or do you want to trust the process and finally break free from the clutches of perfectionism? If you'd like to learn more about a process that you can trust and that punches perfectionism in the face, I've created a super easy to follow 7-step framework that helps you go from your very first ideas all the way to a finished master, all while allowing you to step back and shape it and refine it to really make it your own. So if you're interested in grabbing that, you can find it in the description below. If you got value out of this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to stay in tune for the next Meta My Music transmission, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments down below, how much do you rely on your opinion, your expectations, and your quality judgments when it comes to making your music? Do you do it throughout the whole process? Do you do it more so in the editing phase? What's your relationship with it? I'd really like to know down in the comments and start a conversation. And with that said, I will leave you and love you and see you in the next video.